I just realized that I was muted this whole time. Wow. I've been talking and I just now realized I was muted this whole time. My apologies. Sorry about that. I suppose we should probably go back to the start here. So, because I didn't realize I was muted. So first off, here's a bunch of cute little V-waves going on. I've got a bunch of little cuties here. But yeah, let's do this, because I did a whole like intro and whatnot. So let's go back here real quick. Transition. Okay. And of course I would yawn, right? Is that transition? Holy crap. Let me hydrate here real quick. Alright. Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be going over how to make a V-wide model with color changing toggles. Something that's been asked a bunch how to do lately in my DMs, because one of my previous models has toggles that react to music and changes color. So tonight we're going to be doing that, as well as showing how to do an anime styled rendering with your V-wide model. The tools we're going to be using tonight are going to be V-wide Studio, Blender 3D, Rudo, and VRM Posing Desktop, just to double check that everything is working properly. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to create a new V-wide model here. So first off, let me switch my screen over. So to begin, let's go ahead and create a new V-wide model. We're going to go to female, because I like to make waifus. I'm not very good at making husbandos, unfortunately. What we're going to do is we're just going to pick some of the default options in V-wide. We're not going to do anything super fancy with it. So what we want to do is make sure we have our character here. And another thing I like to do is I like to hit the number 1 on my keyboard and the number 5. This puts V-wide into the 2D render view. Now we're in 2D mode. We can, oh, and it's not showing my, called, my, cursor. So much stuff. It's alright, I'll go ahead and edit it out later, in the, final edit. Other gaming mode, like capture, show cursor. There we go, okay. Yeah, so we're going to just use some default stuff, but by pressing 1 and 5, that'll put V-wide into the 2D render view. If you hit 5 again, it'll go back to your 3D perspective, and you can kind of see the difference here. So if I like put it at a angle, for example, we go to like this 45-degree angle. If you hit 5, you can see here the perspective completely changes, and that's because you're now in a 2D render view instead of the 3D render view. So I'm going to hit 5, make sure that we are in 2D, go to our front facing view, because it's what I like to work in with V-wide. We're going to go to hairstyles, and we're just going to pick a hairstyle that we think is cute. I'm a big fan of short-haired hairstyles, but we'll go with something like this, nice and cute here. Now, in order to use the color changing feature of the VRM format, you want your texture to be completely grayscale. So in order to do that, you're going to go to your highlight color, set your highlight color to white, and then you're going to go to your main color, and you want to set that to something like 80, 80, 80, which is neutral gray. If we need to further tweak this, we can. We can go to edit hairstyle and tweak it even further. We might want to do that. For example, maybe we don't want to have highlights at all. We can go ahead and do that. But we'll leave the highlights there in the meantime, because those will also get colored in when we go to color our body, or our textures. Another thing we might want to do is pick an outfit maybe. We can also change the colors on the outfit. So, for example, let's say we have one of the maid outfits. And there's a maid outfit down at the bottom. I guess we'll just go with that maid outfit down at the bottom. but we can make our maid outfit or whatever we want. Also be able to change colors. It's also very useful with a school uniforms if you want to have, for example, if you're doing like a scene and you need a bunch of generic characters and you just want to change their color of the uniform. It's easily doable for us to do it, but I think the easiest one for us to be is going to be probably using this one here. And we'll go ahead and make sure that it is all grayscale in a moment. We actually have to separate this to 2 separate textures. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to go over here to dresses. We're going to go to edit texture. It's going to take a second to load. And then we're going to do is we're going to export this file. And I'm going to just go over here to my other OCs folder. We'll create a new folder here because I don't think I have any generic ones right now. We're going to go into this generic new folder and we're going to label this made dress.png. We will have to cut out some bits of it in Photoshop, which is why we're going to be doing this, because we're going to need to use Photoshop to kind of cut some of the bits out of this. What we're going to do then is we want to create a duplicate of this short sleeve dress here. And we can leave the first one as it is. This first one we can just leave completely as is, or we can just make the whole thing white. So you can easily do that by just creating a duplicate of the layer, hitting the lock button next to it, and then if you color in the whole thing white, like so, just like that. And let's turn off the opacity of that one. And then you would just set the color so that way you end up with this gray texture here. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to make this darker, but we first have to cut out the other parts. So that's the easiest way to do like the base layer. The base layer we can leave as is. This top layer we're going to be wanting to change our texture. So let me go ahead and open up Photoshop here real quick. Actually, give me 1 second. I just realized in Photoshop I have something there that I don't necessarily want visible, so give me 1 second. Right, I need to like close out Photoshop before I get off of work. Or as I'm getting off of work, because I had some stuff for work pulled up in Photoshop and I just don't want any of that to be out there in plain view, because my coworkers don't need their likeness to be visible. Okay, let's see here. Generic, other OCs, new folder, and we're going to open this in Photoshop. So open in Photoshop 2023. I probably should update that at some point. Let's go ahead and get our display back up and running. I'm drag myself slightly over here to the side. Okay, so we have our texture here. And I'm going to create a duplicate of the texture because I've always, whenever I'm editing a texture for a game or any sort of model, I always create a duplicate of the original image. That way, in case I screw up the texture, I can go back to the original if needed. It's just something I picked up over the years. Back when I used to do a ton of video game modding, I would specifically mod like a lot of MMOs, and I would make custom outfits for MMOs, custom outfits for like IMVU, Second Life, so forth. And just something I picked up over time was doing that, where I would duplicate the original texture to make sure that if I ever screwed up, I can go back to it, because I had definitely a few times where that was definitely an issue. So we're going to go to color range. You can go over here, select, go to color range. I'm going to click on the colors that we want, and we want to kind of adjust the fuzziness of it, because we really only want it to select the parts that are not white. So we don't want the white stuff here. And let's see here. Quick mask. I don't like quick mask. I can't see the quick mask very well, which is why I'm kind of doing it this way. But we want to bring our fuzziness down to where we're not selecting the white values, because we're going to be cutting out the right values. And you can see here, if we invert it, then we get all of that there. So if we go ahead and just hit that, we should now be able to hit delete, and that's going to leave us with this stuff here, which should be only the pink stuff. And you can just kind of verify that just by double checking here. Another way to do this is to simply use like the magic wand tool, which sometimes works. I find it to be very mixed results using the magic wand tool for this. It's easier just to kind of select the color range itself. As you see here, I didn't even click up here, and it's selected way up here, which is part of why I don't like using the magic wand tool. I'm not saying you can't use it, because you can. It just, I prefer not to. But I mean, it does work. Another way is you could use the pen tool and just create a mask using the pen tool. But that is a lot more work and effort than is really needed to pull it off. But say for example, we have down here, we have this whole bit cut out. What we can actually do is now hit Control J. If you do it this way, if you hit Control J, you're going to get a layer of only this bit here. We have that. Oh, that's what I think we copied that wrong. Let's go ahead and grab that again. So yeah, if you use the magic wand tool, as you can see here, it is a little bit of a pain to get it to actually select properly. You do have to kind of go over it multiple times. But if you do that, you can hit Control J, and now we have only that area. We're going to want to do that for all of the colored areas that we're going to be able to be changing colors. But again, sometimes though, when you're using the magic wand tool, as you can see here, it just kind of selects everything, and we don't want to do that. Which is why I like to use the color range. I feel like color range is a little bit better. You can always adjust the tolerance and try playing around with the tolerance and see if that helps. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But see, the tolerance didn't really do anything. We're also doing a point sample. You can do a 3x3 average, which is a little bit better. But it's going to keep selecting everything. Actually, wait, there we go. Never mind, we got it working. Okay. I was just on the wrong layer, which is why we have our layers visible to everyone. Okay, I think I have my tolerance at 11, and that was a little bit better for it. There we go. So we're going to do the same thing. Just select this whole area here. You might need to zoom in and select a little bit more. Control J, and then make sure you're clicking back on the original layer. And then just do the same thing over here. Just select, make sure it's all selected. Again, if you need to zoom in, go ahead and zoom in and just make sure you're getting that whole area selected there. And then hit Control J again. And it's going to keep creating layers. What Control J does is it basically creates a duplicate layer. And that's kind of what we want, is for it to be making duplicates for us. It's going to make sure that we are selecting properly. Oh, wrong button. But again, sometimes when you select this way, it'll end up selecting a lot more than what you want. So you just got to be careful when selecting stuff to not overdo the selection. Ideally, you would probably want to use the the pen tool for it, because you can get a lot more precise using the pen tool. So that's something to keep in mind is if you want the precision of your selection, then you really want to use like the pen tool for the maximum precision when selecting. It's like that's good there now. So again, Control J. And if we want to color in these bows, we can as well. We can go ahead and select these bows here. Basically, anything that we are planning on making color changing, we're going to want to move into its own layer. And at the end of it, we'll merge all those layers down. Now, since we selected that, go ahead and select right here too, and just do the same thing. Just repeat the process. It's a little time consuming, and I'm trying to just kind of speed through it. So I'm not trying to be the most precise with the selection here, because I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time on just selecting stuff in Photoshop. There we go, good enough. And since we're going to make things color changing also, it doesn't need to be like the best, because as long as we convert it to grayscale, that's ultimately what matters and what we need to do. And lastly, right over here, this is a much better selection right here. Okay, that should be all of the colored bits now. All the colored bits should be selected. I was going to merge these all down into one layer. So I'm just going to right click on it, and we're going to flatten the layers. So I just want to click merge layers, and that's going to flatten them all down into one single layer. Now what we can do is we're going to go to black and white. And this is honestly too bright, so we want to make this darker. I like to just first go to like maximum black. That's going to give us this nice darker one, but we can also adjust our settings if needed. So one thing we might want to do, actually, the easier way of doing it would be going now to your brightness and contrast levels. And then you can adjust the brightness and contrast however you want. We do want to bring it down kind of close to that neutral gray. So right about here is where we're going to want to make the outfit able to change colors. Now it's like this. We can go ahead and export this, and we're going to export it as made dress underscore cutout.png. Okay, so now that that's exported, we can open up our Vtuber Studio, go to import, and we're going to just go to that made cutout, and that's going to make this make us this nice grayscale version of the dress that we have here. And again, the reason why we're doing this is that way we can change the color of it pragmatically. Otherwise, you could technically change the color if you leave it as the default color. If you leave it as the pink color here, you can still change the color, but now you have to do math when changing the colors, and you won't have the full spectrum available to you, which is why we created this darker gray version of the texture here. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to save this. So I'm going to just hit overwrite. It's going to make a new item for us. And one other thing we might want to change colors on, just for sake of keeping the tutorial simple, is maybe our eye color. Maybe we want our eye color to be able to change colors. So again, it's just a matter of making our eyes gray. Then go to your irises, and most of the time you can just come here and just type in 80 80 80, and that's going to give us a perfect neutral gray color there. So we have our monochromatic waifu now, but now we need to also prepare her for having the anime effect for the shadows and whatnot. So to do that, you're actually going to go over here to the look panel, and at the look panel, what I usually do is I go to my outlines and I do 0.062, I think is the one I do. I just find that to be a decent value for the outlines. And you're going to apply that to the face, you're going to apply it to the body, and to any accessories, which we don't have any accessories enabled right now, but if you did, you would just apply that to the accessories as well. Then you go to rim light. And what I found works best here is having the concentration be at 100, but then I go to 10 for the hair. On the face, I think I usually do 5. And then again, leave the concentration at 100. And then for the body, also 5. So you want very minimal rim light on the body, but you do want some rim light on the hair. We're then go to shading. And you're going to take this shading hardness and put it all the way to the maximum at 1.0 for everything. Okay. And then you also want to make sure that stuff is going to actually get shaded. So for example, you don't want it to cover obviously the whole like face, but you just want to get roughly where you're going to want your shadows to be at. Or actually this just shows you like what's being shaded. So this is a good way to like preview how the shadows are going to look. And you can kind of see here already, this already is kind of getting that. We are going to have to do some other stuff in Blender to kind of fix the mouth here, because the mouth is getting a shadow that we don't want. But we can easily fix that. So let's go ahead and set this back to 0. And like I said here, you can see here, it's not displaying kind of properly the way we want it to. It looks kind of bad here, but trust me, it'll look a lot better once we get it into Blender and we start actually moving stuff around. And you can play around too with this like shade softness. But I, for sake of like getting that anime effect, I do like to simply leave everything at 0, 0, and then 1.0 for the hardness everywhere else. So that's the base effect. We do have to, like I said, take this now into Blender. And once we're in Blender, we can do more to it to further that effect. So let's go ahead and just export this character. We're going to label her as tutorial waifu, I suppose, once it loads up. Now, there is now VRM 1.0. However, I've been having problems exporting 1.0 from Blender, so we're going to be using 0.0 tonight. There is a lot of new features that were introduced with 1.0 that are wonderful features, and I am excited to be able to use them soon. It's just I've been having trouble exporting them from Blender, so we're going to be using 0.0 tonight. We're going to label her as tutorial waifu. Creator is Emily. And then contact information. This is all optional stuff. You don't have to do it, but I usually just do, even if I'm only going to be using the model for myself and not for anyone else. Let's go ahead and export our model now. Okay, so it's going to drop her now into that folder we created earlier. Now that we have our tutorial waifu created, we can go ahead and open up Blender now. So we're going to open up Blender. I already had Blender open. I'm a dumbass, and I just opened up Blender again because, again, I'm a dumbass. Don't be me. I already had Blender open. I didn't need to open Blender again. Alright, here is Blender. See here, we have our default cube. Default cube says hello. We're going to delete our default cube here in a moment. First off, let's go ahead and re-enable our overlays. So let's go ahead and delete the default cube. What we're going to do now is let's prepare our light to be able to test how our shadows are going to look. So what I like to do is I like to set the light to 2, -2, and then 2 for the location. That'll be important in a moment because that's at a height of 2 meters, and it's 2 meters in front of our character and 2 at the left of our character. So it's just a nice little spot to have a light already prepared when we are loading in. You're going to go up here to import, then VRM. We're going to find the folder that we had put our character into. So I'm just going to go over here to the new folder. We have our tutorial waifu. You want to click on this button here that says extract text or images into the folder. Make sure that that is enabled. Go ahead and click import VRM. It's gonna load. I give about like 30 seconds to a minute to load. The more complicated your model is, the longer it's gonna take. Okay, so now we are loaded in, and we can see our character here. If we go into rendered view, we can see our shadows. We can already see we're getting that nice shadow color or shadow effect we wanted, but we can make it a little bit better. So the way to do that is we're going to select our face and then find the skin texture. It's going to be right here, face 00 skin. That's the texture you want. You want to scroll down here. We're going to click on this shade color. And what I've been finding is you have to do a little bit of trial and error depending on the skin tone of your character. I like to start with a value of 0.9. However, I've also found that 0.8 looks pretty good. Then we need to do the same thing with our hair and with our body. So if you click down here on our body, make sure our body is selected. We can click on our skin texture again, and then do the same thing. You want to make sure it's matching the other one. That way the shadows are seamless. You don't want them to be like different colors, so just make sure they are matching there. And then you'll notice too that it's not applying that shadow to the alpha yet. That's as simple as just going over here to our tops, and then just make sure we're doing the same thing here at the tops. So again, I like to use 0.8 to 0.9. I don't like to go any darker than that. I feel like darker than that just doesn't look good, and any lighter than that also doesn't really look all that good. But it's simple as just dragging that color value down, and now you can see here it's darkened that shadow there. And you might also need to play around with some of these settings, such as the shading tuning or shading shift. You shouldn't need to, but you can play around with those if you wanted to do that. Now that we have that, we also need to come up here to our hair and also add the shading tuning to our hair. So I'm just going to click right here on the shade color. Make sure you have the hair texture selected. And you can see here, Vtuber does this thing where it makes your hair have no shadow at all for whatever reason. So we're just going to change the value of that shadow to 0.8. And now we have that nice shadow right here on the side of our hair, which is already now looking good. Now we can prepare for making the model able to change colors. So we want to actually wait real quick. There's one more step we need to do for the face, and it might not be a big issue if we're just using like the default face overall, but if you want to start like modifying your face a lot, then you can run into issues with this where the normals don't quite look all that good. So what I like to do is I use an extra normal map for it. So I've created here an extra normal map, and I'll go through the process of creating that. So we're gonna go over here to the folder that was created for us. We go over here to the folder. We have here tutorial waifu.vrm.textures. Inside that folder, we're gonna have a bunch of textures here. There should be an existing normal map, which is this one. And you can see here, this is actually already perfect. If you were using a different model, for example, if I were to go over here to this other model I was working on, and they go here, her one had a bunch of extra data here, and it needed to be cleared out. So this is, I believe, the original normal map. And then I have a bunch of test normal maps. I was trying a bunch of different like things for the normal map to try to get it like looking good, and I still haven't fully perfected it. But the safest bet is simply this. Yeah, this is the original normal map right here. The safest bet for it is simply just to clear it out, make it all this singular color here, which I believe the one that was created by not doing any sort of special thing is already like that. So if I go to the new folder, and then go to our textures folder, go to _5, and you can see here, there's no data there, which is good. That's what we want. So if there is data, just make sure that you clear that data out and you make it all this single color here. Otherwise, you might have some issues with jaggedness or shadows not going the direction that you want your shadows to be going. So just keep that in mind. And we can actually just, I guess, copy that other one that I had. So it's going to be in this folder here. And I'm just going to copy that test one over. And into here. And we can play around with it and get a feel for if it does make any difference or not. I don't think it will, because it looks like it's already good to me. But we'll go ahead and give it a try. So if we have our face selected, our face skin, we can select that other normal map and just see if it makes any difference. And it does make a slight difference there, as you can see there. So there was a little bit of difference there. If I switch back to the original texture, you can see that the shadows are a little bit smaller. If I switch to the new one, the shadows are a little bit bigger. It really just kind of depends on your preference for it and how you want to go about it. But that's the way I have mine. So we can leave it as this. I didn't realize that the default rewrite, if you don't do anything special, that it leaves it alone. But for future reference, just make sure you blank out the color on it to a single blue color. Alright, so now we want to actually change colors. So let's go ahead and get into changing colors. What I'm going to do first is, because we don't need to worry about any of our bones or anything extra tonight, we're going to just turn all of those off so we only see our colors and stuff here. And then we're going to have our material here selected. We're going to drag off to the side right here. And we're going to go to our shader editor. And that's going to give us this nice little graph here. I'm just going to drag this over a little bit more so you can see it better. So we have this graph here, and what we want to do is we want to double check that we can change the colors and see what our colors are going to change to. So, easiest way to do that, grab this lit color first, drag it off to the side, right up here. Alright, so just drag it off to the side. You're going to add two nodes. So we're going to add a mix RGB, and we're going to add an RGB node. So I'm going to add the RGB one here. We're then going to add a mix RGB node. We have here, should be under color. Yeah, mix RGB. Just put it right there in the middle. And then you're going to connect the two together. So now we can change the color here, and you can see that with the color changing, it changes our color overall. But there's still a problem. As you can see here, it's not changing the shadows. So we needed to be able to do that as well. So let's go ahead and reset this back to our default color. What we're going to do now is do the same thing down here. We're going to scroll down. We're going to grab the shade color, drag the shade color right off to the side. Add a RGB node right here. Add a mix RGB right there. Connect the two together. And then if you right click right here, actually we're not going to be able to do the driver that way. The easiest way to do it would be to have the driver, but I don't think we're going to be able to actually add the driver that way. Show in driver editors. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do a driver that way. Oof. Yeah, it doesn't let me copy as a driver, but that's fine. Basically, you have to have 2 separate inputs for it. But now we can get an idea for like what colors might we want to change our texture to. So if we bring our color, for example, if we want to go green, we can bring the color up here to green, hit Control C, and then scroll down over here to the shaded color and paste it in there. And you can now see that it changes that whole color. So that's essentially what it's going to do when we add the actual toggle to be able to change our colors. So, for example, if we want to have, we'll leave this green as like our base color, right? This will be our base color that we're going to be working with. So let's go ahead and take note of the different values that we have for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this green here, and you'll see these different values. You want to set this to RGB, and then you want to copy these values down. And actually, here's where we can copy the driver now that I see it. So if I copy the driver there, we can come down here and we can paste the driver. There we go. That's the way we do it. Just gonna paste the driver down here. And same thing right here. Wrong one. Go back over to our lit color. Copy this driver. Copy driver. Paste driver, and it should now work for us to move this around, but it's not moving it the way it's supposed to. I think I probably might have done that wrong. Let's go ahead and delete the driver altogether, and we'll try this one more time. Copy as new driver. That's what we want. And then you can paste the driver here. There we go. Just make sure you're doing copy as new driver. And then pasting the driver down here. And this is only a step for testing that's going to work. This is not a step for the final production. This is just to test and see how it's going to look once we get it into Naruto and variant posing and whatnot. Right, and then just go ahead and paste that down there. So there we go. Now, it'll match the color respectively. So now if we adjust our color, you can see here it changes the color overall, which is what we want. We want to change the color completely. And we can make it brighter, we can make it darker. And this is why we wanted to have a grayscale texture, because if you don't have a grayscale texture, then your colors are going to end up super weird. For example, if we had set our hair color to like blonde as like the base color, and then we put this back to normal. Well, since blonde's now the base color, and we can just do a quick, demonstration of how that's gonna look. Actually, it's not blonde; it's some other color, but still. Now, if we go ahead and move this here, you can see here we're not getting like the full spectrum out of it. And there are ways you can still technically do it, but a lot of more math is like involved in it, and it's just not fun to deal with. So that's why I recommend just have a color that is a color that is not going to be like super special. And I think we had set this, our value should be 0.8 for all of these. 0.8 and 0.8. There we go. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you are adjusting your colors here. This is why you wanted it to be a grayscale texture. Let's say, I don't know, we'll pick a few different colors that we like. Maybe we want our default hair color to be kind of brownish. And remember too that brown is made up of dark orange, essentially. That's how you get brown, is like with orange. So maybe this is the color we want, right? This can be our base color. So first thing we want to do is click on here. We're going to copy these values down. So I'm just going to open up a notepad here real quick. We're going to do notepad ++. Make a new note here. And we're just going to copy these values down, these RGB values. And another way you can do this is also by using Vtuber. Vtuber is super helpful for copying these values down. But we have here 1, 0.251, and 0.7. It's going to refine it a little bit by just making it 0.25. And then we'll just make this 0.55. Okay. So now we can copy all those down. We know it's going to be RGB of 1, 0.055. I might have gotten that in the wrong order. Yeah, 0.25. First one is actually going to be 0.25. Okay, so that's our first color that we're going to have. Now we want to do another color. For example, let's say we want to do green. We can now come over here, click on this, and we'll just make it very simple. It's going to be 0, 1, 0, okay? So RGB 0, 0, 1, 0. And then we'll do one more color just for shits and giggles. We'll come over here to blue. And then you'll copy those values again. And we'll just make it easy. 0.02, 0.025, and then 1. So 0.025, 0.020, and 1. So RGB 0.025, 0.020, and 1. And then that's going to be our 3 colors for our toggle that we're going to be doing. So now we can actually just delete this entirely. We don't need that to be connected. So we can just do is right click on here, delete with reconnect. It's going to put it back to the original color there. And then you just delete that extra RGB one. Again, this is only just to make sure stuff is working, not necessarily to, for production yet. So now we have checked our colors that we want for that. We can hide that menu for now. You're going to go up here, you're going to press in, it's going to open up this side menu. You're going to scroll down to your VRM panel. And you're going to go to VRM Blend Shape Proxy. It's right here, it says VRM Blend Shape Proxy. Right here on the proxy, you're going to scroll down to see a bunch of them. You're going to create a new one entirely. So I'm going to hit the plus button here. And then we're going to hit this button actually 2 more times. We want to have 3 total for our hair. So just click on it. I'm going to change the name to hair_1. The second one's going to be hair_2. The third one is going to be hair_3. Okay. Click on the first one. We're going to tell this to add a material bind. So you have this little button right here. It says material bind down here at the bottom. You're just going to click plus on that. You're going to click on it twice because we need to add 2. You're going to select the material and you're going to find the hair color material. It's going to be right here. It'll say hair underscore 00 for the hair. Make sure it's the correct one. I don't know why we actually have a whole separate one here. That is actually kind of interesting. Because there's a base hair. That's why. We didn't touch the base hair at all. We left that default. So make sure you're getting the correct hair, but it should be this hair underscore 00 underscore hair. You're gonna click on that, and you're gonna add that one again. So right down here, just make sure you're adding it twice. Now on this first one, you're gonna click down here, click add value. You're gonna add 4 values for the first one. And you're gonna set the property name to underscore color. That's where our notes come in. So we had here in our notes, our first value is 1.25.055. So we're just going to do 1, 0.25, 0.055. And then you're going to set this last one to a value of 1. Now you're going to do that again for the second instance here. And what you're going to do is you're going to make this a underscore shade color property. And you only need to add 3 values for this one. We're going to use the same exact values. So 1, 0.25, and then 0.055. So now that that's set, we will have our first hair toggle. Unfortunately, the preview button doesn't really work. I wish it did, but it just doesn't in here for whatever reason. And you can also toggle if it's binary or not. You don't need to. But yeah, it doesn't really work on its own. You have to first export it out in order for this to work. Just for sake of science, I'm actually going to put this set to preview at 1.0 and see if that does anything when we actually export it, but I don't think it does. Now let's add in our next hair color. So we want to do our next hair color. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to add the 2 material binds. You're going to do the same hair. So, and to make it easier, you can just hover over it, hit Control C. And then on the other one, just hover over, hit Control V. Makes it so much quicker to do this when you're doing a lot of bulk changes. We're just going to add our 4 values. Remember the second one, you only need 3 values. So we're just going to do 3 values for the second one. We're going to copy our numbers that we had over. It was 0, 1, and 0. And then this 4th value needs to be a value of 1. Under the next one, just do the same thing, 0, 1, 0. And then we're going to have our last hair color here. We're going to add our 2 material binds. And since we're using the same texture for all of that, you can just copy and paste that texture into there. And then just make sure that we are setting our values correctly. So let's make sure this one has 4 values and the other one is 3. And then for this one, we did 0.025, 0.020, and then 1. So those are our 3 colors that we're going to be doing just for that part. And then just make sure we copy all of that again over here. 0.025, 0.02, and then 1. So now we have our materials bound for the hair. Now let's go ahead and do our eye color. And actually, I just realized that we didn't actually need to do the whole mix RGB thing. The mix RGB thing is best, I think, if you're doing an actual blend shape over here. So that's going to be setting our hair color now when we export this. And we can actually go ahead and just test it already. So let's go ahead and just do a quick test. I'm going to export this as a VRM, put it into the same folder, and we're just going to label this tutorial waifu VRM underscore color changing, and then just make sure that is saved properly. And gonna just export that out real quick, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up Vrudo. So let's go ahead and open up Vrudo right here. Here's Vrudo. I'm gonna select my character here, wherever it's at. Open up our character folder. It's gonna give us this lovely folder here. We're then going to find wherever we had our waifu at. We're just gonna copy the color changing VRM into this folder. Obviously, I have a ton of models here. But now what we can do is we can switch over to that model just to test it. So tutorial waifu. And then we're going to need to import our expressions. I have a ton of expressions here, so I'm just going to clear all of these expressions out. We're just going to hit remove all. And then we're going to, again, hit remove all. We're going to import VRM expressions. That's going to give us our new expressions there. My directional light has been like messed with, so we need to kind of reset our directional light maybe. I don't remember what was like the prime settings for it. Yeah, it should be like, I don't know, 100 here. I normally don't need to mess with my lighting settings. There we go. So you can see here, we now have our shadow off to the side, kind of where I like to have it. We can mess with it further if we need to. Depends on like what it is you're trying to do with the color. I also have bloom and a bunch of other stuff enabled, so maybe we'll turn off the bloom just for making this fair. There we go, so bloom's off. Now if we go over here to our character, we can double check that it's working. So if we enter our expression, there we go. We now have our hair color changing just the way we want it. You can also set this as a default in Vrudo if you wanted to, or just anytime you open up your stream, just make sure that you hit to enter the expression beforehand. You can even have it right here, and then go to the next one, and when you hit expression, it's going to override it. So now we have green hair, or now we have this neon blue hair. However you want to color your hair. But now we can color the hair any way we want. And just remember, they have these layers here. So this first one is layer 1. The second one's layer 2, and the second one is layer 3. The higher the layer number, it's going to override it. So let's say we have here, we have hair 3 enabled. If we now toggle hair 2, it doesn't work because hair 3 is overriding all those because it's a higher layer value. So now we're going to go back to green, for example. And maybe we'll turn off hair 1. And if you want to make it permanent in Vrudo, you can do that by going down to, I think, the bottom of the screen, or bottom of it has this like default properties that you can adjust. So yeah, if you want to make it a permanent thing, you would go here to default material properties, and then change that to however you need it to be as a default. But that only works for Vrudo. That does not work for VC Face or VNeon. With VNeon and VC Face and 310A, whatever it is you're using, you'll have to enable hair 1, hair 2, whatever you want your default hair color to be. Now let's go ahead and adjust our eyes though. We can also do this for the eyes and the outfit like I was saying. So if we go down here, and yeah, actually we didn't need the mix RGB. I don't know why I was doing the mix RGB, because we actually don't need to do it that way. I think there was a reason why I did it, because that's how I did it in the past. The reason why I did it, I think, was because I needed to convert my hair color to gray. That might have been what it was for my other model. But now we can go ahead, select our texture here, eye iris. That's going to be our eye color. We're going to grab this lit color alpha. Go ahead and click on that. And we can change the color to whatever we want. This looks like a good default here. I actually really like this. This is really pretty of an eye color to me. So we're going to take note of these values here. We have 0, 1, and let's just make this 0.618. That's a little bit of an obsession of mine, but we're gonna make that 0.0618 and 0. Make sure we just copy that into our notepad here, so we can come back to it later. So we have our trusty little notepad. I'm gonna just come down here. We'll go eyes, I guess, and we're gonna do RGB 0, 1, 0.0618, and that's going to become our default eye color that we want to have going forward. Just going to toss the notepad off to the side again. Let's go and pick another eye color we like. I don't know, maybe we like this color. It's kind of like a nice little plum color. It's not something we see very often. So let's go ahead and copy that one. And we'll simplify it here. I was going to make this 0.9, 0.6, and then 1. So we're going to add that to our notes. RGB 0.9, 0.6, and then 1. And I don't know, we'll probably do one last color again. Just having 3 colors to choose from is just nice, having options, for it. Maybe we want to go with this like aquamarine color, or we're gonna go with like an amber color. We can do that as well. It's kind of a nice one here. I like to have a little bit of contrast, and I also try to avoid certain colors, because if we do like a green screen or something, then you might not have your eyes anymore. So just keep that in mind. If you are planning on using a green screen filter at all, make sure that none of the colors that you're changing to will change to that same color as the chroma key background that you'll be using. So just keep that in mind when you are making your color changing toggles here. So I'm going to have our notes, and let's copy these numbers. We have 1. We have, what is this, 0.8, so do 1, 0.80, so that's going to be our last one there. So it's going to be RGB 1, 0.8, and then 0. That should have been what it was. I'll double check right now. Yeah, 1, 0.80, so that's going to be our eye colors. And let's set this back to the default here. And now we want to color our dress. So with our dress, make sure we have that selected. It's going to go to tops. Remember, we have 2 different textures here for our tops. So we just want to find the one that's going to actually affect the color of everything. And there might have been a slight screw up here with our model. Let me just double check something real quick. Yeah, we might have had a very slight screw up here. Not a huge issue. That's changing it for the whole thing. We don't want it to change for the whole thing. We want it to only change for whatchamacallit thing. This texture here is underscore 15. I'm just going to double check what that texture is real quick. Yes, underscore 15 is the correct texture here, but it's getting overridden by this one. Which is not what we want. We want them to be coexisting. So the easiest way for us to do that is simply, let's open up Photoshop again. And let's create a layer mask here. So we're just going to create a mask by selecting this whole transparent area. And then we're going to create a mask on that. Invert the mask. Drop it down. And actually, we don't want that mask inverted. We want it to be like this. So that way we have our thing here. We can just simply leave it all as white. It doesn't need to be anything special. You can just leave it as default, whatever it was. I think this here is the default for it, so we'll just leave it as that. We're going to export this again. And then we'll export it in here as underscore 14. already exist. We know that. That's fine. So just need to go over here to a different menu here real quick. We need to go to our UV editor. So I'm just gonna go over here to UV editor. You're gonna click this image tab up here, scroll down to _14. Then you're gonna click on image, click on reload. That reloaded the image for us. There we go. And now we can apply our colors where that we wanted to apply, or should be able to. Why is it doing this? It's probably because the cutout settings are weird. Yeah, our cutout settings are weird. There we go. Now it's displaying properly. So sometimes you might have to change the setting here for alpha. Make sure it's just set to alpha blend. But we are missing here internally. We are missing some color there. I think what happened there is we actually forgot to include that bit when we made our texture here. So let's go ahead and fix that again real quick. Photoshop. Okay, so I want to make sure we have our mask selected, and then we're just going to bring our brush size down to like 10. Click here, hold down shift, click right there, click here, hold down shift, click right there. Make sure that it's lining up the way it needs to be lined up. Same thing right here. And then this should fix the problem with that texture having that little hole there. That's entirely my bad. So just make sure that is all back in order right there. Okay. And you see here, now it's back. Now that is back there. The same thing, just export this texture. We're gonna put it in here, make it _14.png. And then we're going to go back to Blender, click on image, click on reload. Now we have that there. So now we can select our proper one, which is going to be cloth 2. Cloth 1 is the bottom layer, cloth 2 is the top layer. We want to only adjust cloth 2, but now we can adjust the color of it. And remember, we're going to see some issues here with the shadow. That's fine. We can fix that by using drivers, but it's not going to really matter too much right now. But now we can make this any color we want. So let's say we want have blue as like the default color. It's a nice blue. I like it. We're going to copy these values here into our notes for the dress. So I was going to add here a section in notes for the dress. And looking at it, it is 0, 0.62, 1, and 1. 0, 0.62, 1. Okay. Let's find another color that we like real quick. So maybe we want to go with this kind of wine color. That's really pretty. Has a nice color to it. So same thing, just copy our numbers here. So we have 1, 0.346, and 0.412. So I'm just going to copy that real quick. 1, and then it was 0.346, so 0.346, and then 0.412, I think was the last number there. Yeah, 0.412. And then we'll pick one last color here. I've been liking the greens. I actually kind of like this like muted color. These muted colors are just kind of nice to me. They kind of fit with the visual style of something that I'm trying to do with one of my projects. And I don't know, it just kind of looks nice. We'll make this a little bit simpler. So 0.75, 1, and 0.62, 3. So I was going to make sure that that's in our notes. Yeah, so 0.75, 1, and then 0.623. There we go. So that's our 3 colors for the dress. We can now go ahead and set this back to our default color for it. And now we get to add these material binds again. So remember, I'm just going to come up here to, you're going to come up here to the blend shape proxy menu. We're going to add 3 for the eyes and then 3 for the dress. And just remember that they have a layer to them. So the first one here is going to be your base layer, the second one, and then the third one is going to be the order of which they override each other. So just keep that in mind when using it. We're going to name this one, we'll name it eyes underscore 1. We'll name the second one eyes underscore 2. And then eyes underscore 3. And then we're going to add our material binds. And for these, it's really easy. Click down here, find the iris texture. You might need to make this menu a little bit bigger so you can see your textures a little bit better. But make sure that you're finding iris underscore 00 underscore I. And then once you have that, you can just come down here to the material tab, hit Control C, and then Control V to paste it in to all of these. Since these are all going to be using the same texture, it's nice and easy just copy and pasting it that way. Okay, now come over here to the first one, set this property name to underscore color. We're going to add 4 values to it. And we're going to copy those numbers that we had before. So we have 0, 0.62, and 1. And then make sure that the last value is set to 1. You're going to click on the next one now, set that one to underscore shade color. Make sure it has 3 values here. And you're just going to do the same thing again, 0, 0.62, and then 1. So that's going to be our first eye color that we had chosen. Now for the next one, same thing. Make sure we have it here to be underscore color. Add our 4 values. Make sure that last one is 1. You can just do it ahead of time. We're going to start off with 1, 0.346, 0.412. Those were the colors that we had decided we liked. And then do the same thing right here. Make sure that it has the texture and that's set to the shade color. It is a little repetitive. The more colors you add, it does get repetitive. So just keep that in mind. You might not want to add too many colors. Just add the colors that you're expecting to use essentially as a palette swap. And that's kind of what these basically are. What we're basically doing is creating palette swaps. So we have these palette swaps that we can do kind of like in the fighting game or whatever. So it'd be like palette 1, palette 2, palette 3, and then we can mix and match in between the palettes that we have. So one last time for the eyes. 1, 2, 3. This should be 0.75, 1, and then 0.623. And make sure that we have all 4 of those here as well. Oh wait, I just did the wrong color for the eyes. We just did the wrong color for the eyes entirely. Well, that's going to be interesting. I was looking at the wrong colors. We'll correct that. So back up here at the eyes real quick. I want to make sure this is correct. We have 0. Yeah, I did the colors for the dress, not the colors for the eyes. So that's entirely my bad right there. We can just simply change the color or the material, I suppose, to fix that. So that's what we'll do. We'll rename this to dress_3. This will be dress_2. dress_1, and then we'll just simply correct the material choice that we have. Okay, well, since I completely screwed that up, let's go and fix that. So just where our material is, we're just gonna scroll down to tops_2, and then we'll just make sure to fix that for all of these. And next time, I just need to make sure I'm paying attention to where I am looking at on my little notes here. That's definitely a problem. Okay, let's try this again. This is gonna be eyes now. So eyes_1, eyes_2, and then eyes_3. So we have our 3 color palettes that we're gonna be working with. Oh, what did I just do? There we go. So the first one that we had chosen, make sure this is set to iris. And we'll do our 4 values here. And just to make sure that I'm getting it correct, it's not down here that I need to be looking, it's up here. So it's 0, 1, 0.618. We can just do 0.062. 0, 1, 0.062, and then 1. And then we're just going to, make sure we have it all set for the shade color as well. And you can just copy and paste the values to make it faster for the second one. You don't have to type it all in again. There we go. Okay, so our eye color is set. Do that again right here. Make sure we have the proper texture selected. And then this one is eye_2. For that one, we had settled on, it was 0.9. 0.9, not 0.8, 0.9. 0.6. And then 1 for the last value. Let's make sure that's 1. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing with the shade color. And you'll notice that there is a bunch of other properties there as well. These other properties are for other stuff. You can do animated textures by doing this. You can do glowing textures. If you want to do glowing textures, I'll probably do another stream or tutorial later where we go over each property individually, just because there is a ton of properties to cover. So we'll save all those other properties for another time, but this is where you would also be able to do toggles for animated textures. So you can have a texture that's animated by default, but you can also have a toggle that either changes the speed of the animation, the direction of the animation, or turns it on or off, whatever you want to do. You can do that through these properties as well. So we'll cover those properties another time, but this is where you would also do that if you wanted to do fancier stuff like that as well. Let's go ahead and copy and paste these values here real quick. Then we'll do our final eye color. We have our 2 material binds set, and we're going to our irises. 3, 3 and 4, which is last one, is set to 1. That last value is the opacity. So if you bring that down to like 0, then it'll just be invisible. So just keep that in mind as well. The fourth value is your opacity, but you don't have to use it. I recommend just leaving it at 1 for the opacity. 0.8, and then 0 is how we had it. And then that will be it for that. So make sure we have our shade color set, and then our 3 values. And then I think that last one is 0. Yep, last one's 0. So that's all set now for our materials. So now we can export our model again. So let's go ahead and export the model. And then we're gonna need to open up the Vtuber folder. So here's the Vtuber folder. And we're going to copy and paste our color changing VRM over. So just make sure we have it selected. Control C, Control V. It will override the file in a second, hopefully. And once the file copies, Vtuber is luckily smart enough that it automatically updates with the new file. VCFace, Vneon, and others, you will have to relink the file manually. It's one of the things I like about Vtuber is that it'll just automatically update it for you. Yes, we want to replace the file and destination. There we go. And see, we have now loaded back in. And so now we can make sure everything's working by going to our editor here. We want to import our expressions. And now we can toggle our expressions on and off. I think I might have left the dress like a different color or something. Or actually, I think what it's doing is it's doing like back face culling, I believe. So let's double check, make sure that texture is set properly. Right here, top. So I would turn on like backface culling, and then just make sure it's set to like alpha blend. Let's go ahead and export that again real quick. A lot of trial and error sometimes. It's one of the fun things about 3D is all the trial and error with everything that you're doing. Especially when you try to make use of some of these more advanced features of the model format. Oh, now we're just completely missing half our body. That's not good. That's not what we want. Because here in Blender, it is displaying just fine. Double-sided? Yeah, double-sided with Z-Write mode. Sometimes you just need to play around with some of these buttons here. The transparency settings for the VRM format have always been like a weird issue with me. I don't know what it is about them, but the transparency settings have always been a bit of an issue. There we go. We are now displaying properly. Yay! Okay. So yeah, now in Vtuber, we have our expressions here, and we can now change the color of our dress. So we can have our default blue, have our default hair color, and then our default eye color. So now when we want to change our colors, it's as simple as just toggling on a different expression, and that's going to change the color of our eyes. We might need to redo our calibration by just clicking calibrate, and there we go. But yeah, so now we have our color changing toggles, and we can do whatever we want them. One nice thing about Vtuber is that we can change what colors we're changing to as well. So You can't do it in some of these other programs, but you can do it here. For say maybe we don't like the amber color that we chose for the eyes. Well, we can simply come down here, go to target color, and adjust the color however we want. And that will be now changed for the blend shape that we are working with. So, yeah, maybe we kind of, like this color better or something. Who knows? However we want to do it, we can go ahead and do that. And now when we toggle that on and off, it'll retain that color. You do want to make sure though that you're matching it with the shade color as well. But yeah, now we have that there. So we can now change our colors to whatever we want. We can be green. We can be blue. We can change our dress color easily. Like come down here and just change our dress color. This looks kind of nice to me, so maybe we'll go with that. And then we'll set our hair color, not our hair color, our eye color to eyes 2. And there we go. So now we have our color changing toggles for Vroid, and we have our harder edge shadow there. So we can make it look all nice and pretty for us. And now let's say we want to, toggle these on and off to, say, music, because we can also do that as well. We can toggle these on and off to music. So if we want to toggle them on and off to music, what you would do is you would go to blueprints, and I already have a blueprint set up for it. So I already have blueprints set up, but we'll go ahead and make a new blueprint. So I'll make a new blueprint here. We'll rename it to tutorial blueprint. So we'll name this to tutorial blueprint, if I can spell properly. And being able to do the music stuff is pretty easy. You do have to kind of abuse one of the systems here. So the way I abuse Verudo is I will go here and I'm going to do blueprint. I'm going to type in blueprint. We're going to copy an on disabled and copy an on enabled. You need 2 of these toggle blueprint nodes. You then need a for loop. So you want a for loop node. And this is going to create a loop that kind of gets around Verudo's thing, where if you try to do a loop onto itself or a loop into a loop, it'll give you an error message telling you that you can't do that. This is something that I found that works as a way of getting around that. So what you're going to do is you're going to connect the on enabled blueprint to your for loop, and then you're going to connect the exit to the toggle blueprint enabled. Select the tutorial blueprint, go to action, and tell that disable. So you want that to be disabled there. Now down here, you have this on disable blueprint, and you're gonna have that one exit and connect over here to toggle blueprint enabled again. Select your tutorial blueprint and set the action to enable. That will create an endless loop. It's kind of a way of abusing the system for Verudo, but that's how I do it. Now we need to actually have our stuff work for changing colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in audio up here. And you see this one says get audio device input. We're going to copy this one here. And we want to select our audio input. For this one, it's going to be voice meter output. And you can leave all these by default. You don't need to adjust any of these settings. You can just simply leave these by default. You might want to change the bypass. So here you can do bypass, low pass, band pass. What these are is going to be your equalizer levels, sort of. So your bypass is a mix down of all of them. The low pass is going to be your bass values. The band pass is going to be the mids. And the high pass is going to be the treble. So maybe we want to do the low pass for this one. Now, we also want to do, which kind of helps to debug stuff, is going to type in inspect value, and you're going to drag that down here. You want to grab the dynamic, not the raw, but you want the dynamic. You're going to drag that over here, and that'll give you this value here, just kind of like a way of debugging, making sure stuff is working. And now we need to add here, we need to go to blend, or actually it's expression. You want to type in expression, and it's going to be toggle character expression. So you want this toggle character expression, and you want to go to whatever character it is you're using. You're going to select whatever hair color it is. Maybe you want to make our hair turn blue according to the music. You can do that. And it's going to tell it to toggle. Or actually, I think I had a different way of doing that. How did I do it here? I think I actually did it based on the number value. No, it was with the toggle character expression. Yeah, toggle character expression. Okay. And then I just set it to enable. That's what I did. And then you also have to disable it as well. Yeah. So you're going to set this to enable. Go ahead and make a copy of it by just hitting Control-C, Control-V. Set this one to disable. And this is going to become our toggles for on and off for the color. We also are going to need to add a couple of other things here. So we want to have a less than value. Should be float less than or equal. So we want to drag that out here. It's going to give you a Boolean output. So with that in mind, what we want to do now is to type in down here Boolean, however it's pronounced. I don't really know how it's pronounced. I've always pronounced it Boolean, but I've also heard it pronounced other ways. I'm just gonna type in bool, and you're gonna do come all the way down here to the bottom, towards the bottom. There should be one that says switch. So you want to find the switch. I'm not seeing that. Hopefully it didn't get removed. I'll type in switch up here. Switches. Oh, maybe it got removed. Maybe they didn't like the way I was doing it. I was gonna double check the prop test here real quick. Switch on string. Okay, that's what we use. We use switch on string. Okay. So if we type in switch on string, pull that up here. We're going to drag this output boolean to the input string. Add 2 cases. And then you're going to connect this float less than or equal. You're going to connect this amplitude to the value A. Down here, we're going to put it to whatever we want. We'll probably start the value like 0.7. You're going to probably tweak this a lot for doing it. We're definitely going to end up tweaking it a lot. Then you're going to make this first value true, the second one false. So for if it's true, you're going to just bring this down here to this enter. And if it's false, you're going to go to the other one, which is down here. And now you just need to connect the loop to it. So to do that, just connect this loop body all the way over here to the enter. There we go. And now, if we go ahead and start our loop here, you can see that we are now changing our hair color. It is going to be reacting now to the music. It should be turning it off if the value is false, however, and it's not doing that for whatever reason. I might need to move our inspect value over just a smidge and see what's showing up here. You can also connect the default exit, I guess, down here as well. Yeah, why is... Maybe I have it going to the wrong voice meter output. Could be a thing. Maybe? Oh no. Normally doesn't screw up like that. Because the way I had it before was working perfectly fine. But yeah, you are going to want to definitely make sure we're inspecting our value here, make sure stuff is working. And you can also try adjusting like this interval here. I think like 0.1, probably what I had it at before. I don't remember exactly. I had an interval value set for it. Yeah, 0.1 is what I have the interval set to. For a reason, the inspect value thing's not working now. It could also be that the music might not be loud enough for it to like work properly. That is also sometimes an issue. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, I pretty much that's how you connect the color changing to the music. Is going to be through that method there. And if you need to disable it for any reason, just right here on this on blueprint disable, you can just do that, and that will disable it as well. I don't know why it is not. Let's try bypass. Usually the inspect value thing works fine, but sometimes it's a little finicky. Let's do this again. Inspect. Bring that out. Dynamic range 12. Yeah, I usually don't need to adjust any of these settings. 5.9 right there though. And then low pass is where I had it too. Yeah, it probably though is that the music's not loud enough maybe. That is also a problem a lot too, as if your input music's not loud enough. Okay, our loop is dead for whatever reason. Why is the loop dead? There we go. There we go. It's kind of working a little bit better now. I think I have stuff flipped around though, probably. It's possible I have stuff flipped around. Less than or equal to, yeah, A should be less than or equal to B. Or maybe I have that backwards. How did I have it set up? No, I did have that set up right. But you can see here, I did like a lot of like testing with stuff. So I even had like multi-tiered ways of doing it. It was such a complicated system for how I had set it all up. Very easy to kind of like screw it up, I guess.
Choose your fighter.
But that's how I did the music reacting colors. Yeah, hair 3, auto exit no, disable, enable, that's what we want. This should be ignore case, nope, and this should be true and false, that is true. Actually, maybe how to ignore case, I don't know if it's going to be making it lowercase or uppercase. I don't remember. But that's how to do that. Let me just double check. Here, I'm gonna do this real quick. Disable. And then let's go to suit. And then we'll go to expression. Hair 3. And set this hair 3 for all of these. That one looks gonna be fine. To enable. There we go. Yeah, so that's the basic way of doing it. I mean, obviously, like I did a lot more extensive testing with it. Here I had to like really fine tune all the number values. But that's how you make not only the color changing toggle, but that's how you set the color changing toggle to react to music. And then you can go back to your assets here, and you can have, I don't know, green hair by default. So we have green hair, and then we have it changing to the blue hair. And it is doing an additional toggle off here. Now it's just kind of my fault here. Just disconnect that. There we go. There we go. Now we have our color changing toggles, and we have our stuff here. Very helpful being able to do this. And, there's also this new trigger conditions thing. I'm not sure how this works. I think this is something else. Yeah, I'll have to learn how that works. That's new. But that is the way that I do the anime style shading, the way I do the color changing textures on my models, and how connect it to work with music. It's very rudimentary, I suppose, but it's just the way I do it, and it works well for me. And I've been satisfied with this method since I came up with it. You can also toggle on like is binary on and off too. That'll make it to where it doesn't fade in and out. So maybe you don't want it to fade in and out. Maybe you just want it to simply change colors. The way you just do that is just by toggling is binary. So you can have it set to fade or to simply change colors. So hopefully that was a good lesson for how I make all that happen. I will try to condense this down to video. I really need to start actually getting videos out. But this was something that was asked how to do the other day, and I figured why not take the opportunity to answer the question of how it was done, and ways that you can also do it as well. You're late, but glad you made it. Well, I'm glad to see you here. I was thinking of actually ending in a few minutes here, but we covered quite a bit today. We took a generic waifu, and we have gone through using Blender to make color changing toggles. It's a lot to go over, but the too long didn't read of how to do it is make sure your characters have grayscale textures. For anything you want to change colors, you want your textures to be grayscale, because if they're not grayscale, you'll end up with weirdness when trying to change the colors. And then you want to use the blend shape proxies here, and there's kind of a lot to go through with them, but you would create a blend shape proxy that affects the material. In this case, the one I have currently selected is our eyes, and then you can now export your model and load it into Naruto or whatever else you want to load it into, and you end up with this awesome way of having color changing whatever. Let me drag this back down, because that's where it should be. That should be layer 2, not layer 1. But yeah, we can toggle that on, and then we can toggle off here too. And now we have these colors. I just went with simple like RGB scheme for tonight. Trying to keep it simple. And then we also covered how I use the blueprints in Naruto to make things change to music. It's a little bit of a process for the Naruto nodes. Hopefully it is understandable the way I set it up here in the tutorial blueprint. Hopefully. But once you have it all set up, and you end up with these really cool effects that you can do with your Vtuber models. And it's not just Vtuber, you can do it with any VRM model, as long as it's a VRM model. I believe if you convert your model to VSF avatar, which is for VC face, or you convert it to Naruto's format, then you actually will lose that feature because those formats are different. They don't have the same ability to change like the textures. You do get the advantage of running your own scripts in Unity that way, but if you're like, say you're taking your model and you're putting it into Unreal Engine or Godot Engine or something else, then you will lose the ability to have the color changing toggles. So that's why I use VRM, because it's universal, unlike those other formats. Yeah, so we had a few different colors here that we chose for everything. So for example, if we want to change our dress, we can change our dress color. Oh, the music's loud. Oh shit. I'm gonna lower the music. Is that better? Hopefully the music wasn't loud the entire time. I'm gonna be so annoyed if I go back and check the VOD and I can't hear myself. And I was talking for the last 2 hours. Or no, last 45 minutes. Yeah, this is where music should be. Music should be peaking between -30 and -25. And it was, oh, that's right. That's why we had increased the volume, because we were trying to see if it wasn't reacting to the music because the volume was too low. That's right. Duh. A lot of trial and error, lots of scuff. all the scuff every time. Yeah, so now we can change our dress color to whatever color we want. I went with these kind of like muted colors for tonight because they just look kind of nice having these muted colors. Not everyone will like the muted colors, I guess, but I think they actually just look kind of nice having these muted colors to toggle between. Yeah. These muted colors just look really nice for it. And then we can also change our eyes, make our eyes whatever color we want. We are now very green. So again, I just kind of was very generic with the colors tonight, but always fun to mess with models and to figure out how to do different effects with them and the different things you can do with the models. Especially because like a lot of people, for whatever reason, a lot of people will discount Vtuber right off the bat, and they're like, oh, you're using a Vtuber model, how dare you, you're not a real VTuber, whatever. But there is just so much you can do with Vtuber, and I think people are missing out by discounting it based on the default appearance, because this is still the default appearance. The only thing we changed was the hair color and the hairstyle. Everything else is 100% the default body for Vtuber. And so I feel like a lot of people discount it based on how it looks out of the box without giving it a chance, without looking at what happens if I change the shading on it, you know. Shy Lily used a Vtuber model for a long time before her current one. Exactly, you know. Shy Lily used Vtuber. I think Girl DM at first did as well. I remember, yeah, Girl DM had a Vtuber model at first. Like, it's a great way to start with a model, and there's so much you can do with it that makes it look really good, and I feel like people just discount it right off the bat. And so they're missing out on all these cool opportunities to have things like these color changing hair and eyes and other stuff. And being able to, you know, adjust the render style of it. Because if we go back to the default render settings, Actually, I don't remember the default render settings. I probably should have paid more attention to whatever were the defaults here, because I don't think it'll. It's not like what's it called? Photoshop, where you can like just like set it back to default. But I think like I don't know, somewhere around there is probably where the default was. The default look of like Vtuber is like very distinctive, I feel. I would have to create like a whole new model just to see what the default settings were again, because I wasn't paying attention to what the default settings were, because I'm a dumbass. Yeah, it's really easy to tell when it's default Vtuber. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, because it is really easy to tell when it is. But that's also why I feel like people are discounting it, because people tend to just leave the settings as it is and then they just jump into it, and then it's like, yeah, it's very, very much like, you know, a regular or typical Vtuber look. And like I said, I have all the settings default, but you can see here in the shadow is like way different. And that's because we took the time to adjust our shadow settings to get the nice crisp anime shadow. And so yeah, I feel like if you just take your time with it, there's so much you can do with the Vtuber. So I like Vtuber. It is quite awesome to me because it shortens my workload by a lot. Instead of having to manually model everything from scratch, I can simply create a character in Vtuber super quickly and then edit the character to my liking in Blender, rather than having to create a whole base body from scratch. So but yeah, I think I'm going to try to get some food here in a moment, because we covered a lot today already, and I need to get back into the groove of doing longer streams. It's just hard on me right now with the holiday season and work. Work has me all over the place right now. And the next 3 to 4 months with work are going to be absolute hell for me, probably. From January, February, March, April. January through April, I might not be streaming as much as I normally do, because work will be having me fly out to different cities back to back. So I may or may not be streaming that much from January to April. We'll see. Hopefully, I'll be able to bring my laptop with me at least and stream off the laptop. But yeah, I'm going to, yeah, very, very busy. That's what happens when you're no longer the grunt. When you're no longer the grunt and you are like towards the top of the company, then everyone's like, oh, you gotta go and host this big old dinner for all these people or do something else. And it's like, oh, great, now I gotta hop on a plane and take a business trip and whatnot. It's boring stuff. It's super boring stuff too, but like, what you gotta do to survive at the higher end. At least the flights are comped. That's what matters. As long as I'm not paying for my flight and hotel out of my own pocket. Alright, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, if I could just sit here all day making waifus, I would. And I guess that's kind of the goal to work towards. So I need to come up with a plan to actually utilize the YouTube channel properly, and start taking commissions or something, because it would be nice if I could just sit here making waifus and making 3D stuff, both 3D printed and virtual 3D stuff all the time. That's gonna be my goal for next year. My goal for 2024 is to make it so that way I have enough of an income just doing my hobbies. That's gonna be the goal for next year. But anyways, I'm gonna get some food and try to sleep before I have to get up for work. So I will see you all on next Monday. Yeah, next Monday. I'm canceling my Sunday streams for now. Um, I'm not streaming on Fansly on Sundays right now because I just haven't been in the right mindset to hop on Fansly. So Fansly streams on Sundays are canceled, but Monday through Wednesday are Twitch and YouTube. So but yeah, please have a good night, everyone, and we'll get the VOD published, and hopefully everyone learned something cool about how to use Vword for doing the hard edge anime shadow and doing color changing stuff. But with that, thank you for watching, and good night, everyone.